The Ink and Paint Club podcast is intended for mature audiences only, so don't tell your parents! Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to the Ink and Paint Club podcast, your weekly home for animation reviews and discussions.
Hello, everybody! Welcome to this week's episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Not everyone get excited.
I'm waiting on you. You're supposed to introduce everybody. If
Oh,
I
right.
recall correctly.
Yeah, like we've been only doing this for 3 years and I do it the same way every week. I'm your host, JD, and with me is Kyle.
Me.
You. And hey, Matt's back.
Hey! Thank you for having me back on the show again. And with Kyle this time.
Hells yeah.
Kyle.
Hells yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
It's good to be on a show with you now.
A show. So hey, do you know what's 20 years old this month?
Not me. I'm 27.
It's true. Me too.
Does that mean they're finally legal?
No, it's next year. Well, shut up, Kyle.
It's the Powerpuff Girls. They're 20 years old.
Yeah.
Go, the series.
Powerpuff. Yeah, the first Powerpuff Girls series is 20 years old now, everybody. Do you feel old? 'Cause I do.
Yeah.
If you want to get technical about it, the concept of them is older than that, but the first aired episode, I believe, like the first aired episode of the original show was this month.
Yeah, November of 98. We're not counting the whoop-ass stew shorts. Or the What a Cartoon shorts. But yeah, since Powerpuff Girls is 20-ish years old this month, we figured we'd talk about kind of how Powerpuff Girls has changed over the years, because it's gone through a couple different iterations. It's changed and whatnot. So what is your guys' relationship to this series, I guess?
I saw it on What a Cartoon Show. Meet Fuzzy Lumpkins. The one where Bubbles had chicken hair.
And Meat Jam.
Oh yeah. I love Jim Cummings.
Yeah. I found out about this series through the two What a Cartoon shorts, and then, of course, followed the show after that. Like, as a kid, Powerpuff Girls was my absolute favorite show, like, of all the Cartoon Network. Like, I loved all the other Cartoon Network shows, but Powerpuff Girls was my, like, number one favorite. Like,
jam.
Yeah, it was my meat jam. It was, I had a lot of freaking merchandise for the show. Like, I think I remember my family used to take yearly trips to Vegas, and I remember one year we went and we did like one of those games where you like throw darts at the balloons, like kind of like a midway thing. And I remember they had little plushes of Bubbles, Blossom, and Buttercup, and I wasted so much money doing that game, and I got all three. And yeah, that was always my prize, like possession was those three. Then yeah, and it was like people at school, like they knew how much I liked the show, and they'd make fun of me for it sometimes, but it was of course nothing like too bad. But yeah, I had a lot of stuff growing up. Like I was telling you guys about this earlier, but I got this. I don't even remember where I got the magazine. I must have got it from like Vons or Safeway or something. That was it was called the Powerpuff Girls Power Zine, and what was really cool about it was it was kind of like a flip side thing where the front half of it was branded, you know, with the Powerpuff Girls, and the contents of it included stuff like interviews with like Craig McCracken and like details about the like they had stuff about the show, but then they had stuff like that took place in the show, so it had like facts about Townsville or interviews with like the mayor, that type of thing, which is really neat. And then the other thing though was when you flipped the magazine over, it was all themed around the villains. So it was called the Mojo Jojo Monkey Zine, and then it had its own whole table of contents with like villain themed stuff, like just about like every individual villain and that type of stuff. It was really cool. So like I think this magazine came out. It had an episode guide in it, and I don't remember how far this is into the seasons, but it goes up to episode 26, so it's still pretty early into the run. But they thought like even then, like to do this magazine. But the really cool thing about this magazine, though, the best thing about it is the interview with Craig McCracken. There's a photo of him like decked out in a bunch of Adidas gear, like with the hat and everything. Like this is like early 2000s, so you can imagine what it looks like. Like decked out in a bunch of pure white Adidas gear with like the black stripes and like the little hat like pulled over his eyes, and he's like sitting on a bed and he's just drowned like in Powerpuff Girls merchandise. It's so good.
Oh my god.
There's that, and then there's actually an ad for this other thing I owned in the magazine, and it's still one of my favorite soundtrack albums ever. It's Powerpuff Girls Heroes and Villains, which is it's really cool. Like I didn't think about. I mean, I liked it as a kid like a lot, but then as I grew up and I realized like how cool it was because some of the artists on there that did songs for it were like Devo and Frank Black from the Pixies, and of course they had like Biss who did the ending theme for the show, and then Apples in Stereo that did that song Signal in the Sky, which they did like the music video for. Yeah, and Shonen Knife. Like it's a really cool collection of artists that did like little soundtrack albums for it. I think there's some other soundtrack albums that came out for the show, but I never listened to any of the other ones besides that. But that one's still like I still have that on my every media player that I have had since then. Like it's honestly there's some bangers on there. They're really good. But yeah, so I've always had a really good relationship with this show. I remember when they did the complete series DVD box set for it. I remember like going down to my local Best Buy to pick it up, and then like just for a week I was just watching all the episodes, like all the special features. Like it was loaded with, like obviously not everything, but it had like a good chunk of like all the old promotional material, and like even had a Whoop Ass Stew on there, which was cool. Like the original shorts. Wow. Like yeah, it was really awesome.
It makes me laugh because I know that was like $120 box set or something. Like it was super expensive.
I don't remember it being that expensive when I bought it. I mean, it's probably like really expensive now because it's probably out of print. But
no, I found some on OfferUp yesterday for $20. I was like, wow, that didn't age well.
Well, I mean, nobody wants to mess around with DVDs now. I mean, go on, they can easily watch all of Powerpuff Girls on Hulu and HD now. But I mean, you don't get any of that extra stuff. Like, I mean, you could probably watch on YouTube. It's cool to have like a tangible thing to hold and put in the DVD player and stuff.
Physical media, what's that? Yeah, so I mean, I'm pretty much like Kyle, where well, both of you guys, just saw it on What a Cartoon back when they were doing all those the shorts that became the original cartoons like Dexter's Lab and all that. I would watch Powerpuff Girls. I'd say a fair amount, but it was never like a show that I had to go out of my way to watch. Because I mean, my time back then was kind of split between Cartoon Network and Nick.
Yeah, same here.
And like, if I caught Powerpuff Girls on, and I'd sit down and watch it, and had a good time with it, because it's a show about three little girls, but there's lots of blood and action and
it's unlike any other show that time where it was kind of themed to girls. Like it was a show that was for just like a wider audience.
Yeah, it was for everybody.
Which was really what was really cool about it. That was what drew me in, because it's not like you were burnt out on like a bunch of superhero shows, but of course you had like your Batmans and your Spider-Mans, your Supermans, and all that. But like to see like a superhero show that was themed around girls, but that was just accessible to everyone, and just like it was just really cool to see.
I mean, it was such a good action show. They started playing it on Toonami at some point.
Yeah, I do remember that.
It was like the first American show that got played on Toonami or something.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, the action scenes from the show are like really top notch. Like they're all choreographed really well, except for like the bits where they very clearly are doing parodies. Like I remember there's the first episode where they introduced Princess Morbucks, and quite literally the fight scene in there is choreographed right to a fight scene from Dragon Ball Z. I couldn't tell you exactly which one, but I remember like at the time, because that was, of course, they were playing Dragon Ball Z on Toonami like around the same time that Powerpuff Girls was on. So I remember like, I don't think it was the same day, but they played both of those episodes, and I just remember thinking like, wow, like I was able to tell like the choreography was like the same and all that. And I thought that was so like really cool. Like obviously there's like a heavy anime influence on the show too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like even just past like they're always attacked by like kaijus and like even do like
I mean like one's like the giant puffer fish one is obviously like a giant kaiju.
Yeah.
And, I mean, didn't they have like an Asian guy come in and explain why it was
I think you know what, I think so.
Japanese garden when that happened.
Yeah, that's right. They're like having a little picnic or something. But yeah, I'm sure they get like a little history on Monster Island. And... Yeah,
Monster Island's actually a peninsula.
Is it for real? I didn't know this was historically accurate either.
It was a Simpsons joke.
Kyle and his Simpsons references.
For days.
Do you guys remember what the first episode you watched was?
Besides the shorts?
Yeah, because I think the first one I saw was where they turned into dogs.
I think that was the first episode. Monkey See, Doggy Do. I think that was the very first episode.
Was it? So
I think so. It was either that one or it was the one where the three, the ones from the prison gang like have the bootleg Powerpuff Girls costumes. It was one of those.
That one.
Yeah, no, that one's great. It's one of those two. Is the first episode. I'm pretty sure it's Monkey See, Doggy Do though. But yeah, that was probably like the first one I saw too. It must have.
Yeah, I'm looking at Wikipedia. Yeah, the one they turned to dogs is the first episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
At the premiere.
I'm trying to think which one was the first one I saw.
Oh, come on then.
I think it might have been that one. I think I might have seen it when it first came out.
Yeah, I think it must have been because I remember just resonating so well with the two What a Cartoon shorts that I'm pretty sure like when they were playing the commercials for the debut of Powerpuff Girls, I made sure that like I watched the debut, so that must have been the first one.
Because I mean, obviously it's like 25 years ago when they were doing this. How did they decide which What a Cartoons got made into shows? Did we get to vote on that? Or
no, you know what? That's a whole different thing. Like with the original crop of cartoons like Johnny Bravo, Dexter, Powerpuff Girls, probably some others on the blank. Cow and Chicken. They were all. I think they just literally they just liked what was on What a Cartoon. Like the executives must have liked it, and they just funded them. What happened later on with the voted shows was a thing for. Cartoon Fridays, like where they played little pilots there, and then they let people vote on it. And I think was it Billy and Mandy or Kids Next Door was the first. Like they were both winners, but I can't remember which one was first.
I think Billy and Mandy got picked first, and then Kids Next Door was like the year after.
I always just remember that Long Hair and Double Dome was up for both years and got shafted. But like I always really liked those shorts. I thought they would have been cool. I did vote for. I can't remember which year, but the Kitty Bobo show. I remember being on one of the years. That was the one, but I'm still sore that never ended up being like a thing because I really dug. That just gave me that same. It gave me that same like aesthetic, like Rodney Greenblatt, like the Parappa the Rapper and Jammer Lammy. Like gave me that vibe, and I always thought that would have been a really cool show.
The Long Hair and Double Dome. There was a Kickstarter for like getting another short.
I saw that.
And it failed, but he also did one for a graphic novel, and that one succeeded. I backed that
that's cool. That's good.
Gav is a cool guy. I have him friended on Facebook. He does some cool art.
Oh yeah, I mean, if
Nice.
long hair and that was what I really liked about that Long Hair and Double Dome shirt was just like the art was really like it was unlike any of the other shows that were being piloted on that contest.
Max told me that I guess Cartoon Network had a giant stack of pitches of just like caveman and dinosaur shows, so I think that's kind of what didn't play.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah. So what would you guys say is your favorite episode from the original Powerpuff series?
That's a tough one. I've never.
Is that a loaded question?
Yeah, because I've given a lot of thought into it, like a lot of times, and I don't think I could come up with a specific favorite. Like basically you can't go wrong with anything. Like season 1 to season 4, I think was. Seasons 1 through 4 was like the original batch, and then they did the movie, and then they did seasons 5 and 6. I think like when they changed the art style to match the movie, and like they didn't have the original like team working on it. I think, but yeah, it's basically anything from like season 1 to 4. Like it's just so good. It's just really good stuff. If I like in a pinch, Bubble Vicious I think stands out just because I remember that one is what a lot of people were talking about back in the day. I think that was one that won a lot of awards, like the one where they put her like they put Bubbles in the danger room and they crank it up to 11 and she gets hardcore.
I've got 2.
Okay, lay it on me.
I think my favorite one of all time is I can't think of the episode name, but it's the one with Harold.
Yes.
That's very cool.
You stole my answer.
I like that one and the Dynamo episode.
Dynamo.
Oh yeah, use the Dynamo.
Yeah, that's the kaiju episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought that was really cool too. I thought it was cool because it was a double length episode, which is always neat.
Yeah, they leveled the whole city.
Yeah.
It's just like he's like, eat your pea, Professor.
Oh, that's the Harold. Okay, I was trying to remember who Harold was. That's right. That was he. He has on like the union.
The guy with the spark plug on his head.
He's like in the union suit, and he's got the hair dryer.
Yeah, like I like Jeff Bennett a lot. He does some great voices, and Jim Cummings is amazing.
Yeah,
both of those.
Yeah.
It just. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
okay.
You go ahead.
I was going to say, just in terms of the voice cast, like I found out, I didn't know this like as a kid, but I found out years later that I think it's Tom Kane, the voice of the professor. I had no idea that he also voiced him, which was pretty insane to me. Like when I found out, because like you would never be able to tell just listening to like that's like some range that he's got.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know he did Darwin
in Wild Thornberrys.
I think so.
Yeah, I think he did.
I didn't know that.
And I don't know if this is true, but I swear I've heard it's either Tom Kane or someone who sounds uncannily like him doing like local car commercials on the radio.
No,
I
think he's a voice actor for commercials. I've definitely heard him before.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure I've heard Jim Cummings on a local radio commercial
He'll do
before.
car commercials and stuff. I think if you watch, what is it, the Missing Link movie? I think he does the trailer for that.
Yeah, he does. I'm pretty sure, I heard that. Hey, at the end of the day, they're still voice actors. They gotta work. Not everyone can be like... not everyone can be Tara Strong and be on everything, who is, obviously, was on this show, too, is Bubbles.
Yeah. And it really threw me off as a kid, knowing that, like, Tara Strong didn't bug me because she wasn't as predominant yet. But it really threw me off that Tommy Pickles and Buttercup were voiced by the same person.
Daly, yeah.
And it, like, because I was, like, hardcore into Rugrats as a kid. So when Powerpuff Girls came on, it's like, why does this little girl sound like Tommy Pickles?
Yeah.
And then flashback to, like, 3 weeks ago... my work had like this 80s station on, and I didn't realize that E.G. Daly used to be like a pop singer back in the day, and then had like she had like a very popular song that was like on the Scarface soundtrack. Yeah. And it was like, why the fuck is Tommy Pickles singing on the radio?
That's a great song too.
Oh god. So, but yeah, the Powerpuff Girls is like a who's who of like notable voice actors these days.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like Tom Kenny is the mayor
and the narrator.
Yeah. E.G. Daily and Tara Strong's in this. Jeff Bennett pops up a lot.
I think is it Mojo Jojo's voice actor is I think named Roger Jackson. I know that he voiced Ghostface in the Scream movies. Nice. Which is like that's another one of those things where like you would never be able to tell listening to it side by side. Like that's just good range on that.
Tom, it says Tom King did the talking dog.
Oh yeah.
I sure can talk, but I can't drive.
I don't know how to drive.
Just like why did they ever explain why there's just a random talking dog?
No, but they did an episode all about the talking dog. I think in one of those post movie episodes that I think
super annoying or something.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so there's an episode. Oh no, never mind. It's in the movie. I was like, there's a bit where like they're all trying to save a bunch of people, and I think it's like Buttercup has to keep saving the dog.
Yeah, I think that is from the movie.
Yeah, this is the movie.
It has been a minute since I watched the movie. We can talk about the movie a little. But there's
a little bit. Yeah,
there's still a lot to talk about the original show. There's just like so many like good episodes to talk about here. There's one of the other notes. Remember, like it must have been on reruns a lot as a kid, but the episode with the clown that like gets doused in the chemicals and turns into like an evil mime, and then like turns all clowns
into Mr. Mime.
Yeah. Is he? I think he actually is called Mr. Mime, right?
Yeah, they call. Yeah, he goes from whatever the clown to Mr. Mime,
which of course in like that time period where Pokemon's like prevalent, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
I always wondered that if they knew that, like, they called him Mr. Mime intentionally, or if that was just kind of a coincidence.
Maybe a coincidence. I imagine a lot of people were... Well, no, they made references to Pokemon in the show, I'm pretty sure. I think they were, like, little background elements sometimes.
I mean, there's a reference where the mayor is straight up just playing Ocarina of Time.
I always that reference always blew my mind as a kid, because I was just like...
Stupid fairy!
Yeah, because, like, of course, we were playing Ocarina of Time as a kid. I'm just like, wait, they're playing it in the show! That's insane.
I think that's what Craig McCracken was. I thought I read an interview once where Craig McCracken was saying they were getting so little done on the show because everyone was just playing Legend of Zelda.
I mean, can you blame them?
I mean, back in the late 90s, I can see that.
I mean, even now, like with that, I mean, Zelda's like more popular than ever with like freaking Breath of the Wild and stuff. Like,
yeah, I can see a lot of man hours being lost because of Breath of the Wild.
No, I can only imagine if Breath of the Wild came out back then, like, they would have never done the show at all. They would have been busy playing that. Like,
everyone would have lost their jobs.
They got to break roots at animation studios. Come on now. I think I think Ian Jones Courtley asked for a Dreamcast in his OKKO thing.
He would.
Yeah, there was some story where the Cartoon Network people asked him, "Is there anything you want?" and he requested a Dreamcast.
It's for research purposes.
Yeah.
I would do that. I would be like, I want an N64 in my office now, even though I've got one upstairs.
I want a helicopter.
Yeah. I don't know why this episode like is always stuck with me, but like the episode with the broccoli monster.
I was just about to bring that one up. I always thought that the only reason that one particularly stuck with me is because there's a bit in that episode where like this giant kid comes out of like a smaller group of kids wearing an NWO shirt, and I was like a really big wrestling fan as a kid, so I always thought that was really neat.
It's just a random. Like, I don't know. It was such a random episode where it's like it's playing on the kids don't like to eat their vegetables, but they have to in order to save the adults of the world.
Yeah, and it's really the only episode, like one of the only episodes where you see them like just straight up killing their enemies by actually eating them alive. Like that's definitely going to stick with some people more than others.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying.
A little bit.
When you think about it.
They
poured melted cheese on them, and then they ate them alive.
They did.
I mean, to be fair, broccoli and cheese is pretty good. I don't blame that at all.
I put it in the mac and cheese. That shit's delicious. Oh yeah, and there's that episode where they try to get into the Justice League, or the Justice Friends.
Yeah, that episode, because I think the Justice Friends shorts, those were in Dexter, I believe. So it was cool to see like some crossover between, like, of course, as a kid, you always wanted to see crossovers between the shows and stuff. And the Cartoon Network ended up actually doing like for real crossovers later. Like, obviously, we did the episode like OKK earlier, but I mean, like back in the cartoon days, like they eventually did like the Kids Next Door, Billy and Mandy one, but they never ended up doing one for like the really earliest cartoons. So like that was the closest was the closest that we got, and still like that was really cool, and it made sense, like, because it's all superhero themed, so it was always really cool.
Yeah, because wasn't it like Dexter happened, got canceled, and then Powerpuff Girls came out, so Gendy went and worked on Powerpuff Girls.
Did Dexter get canceled? Did it really?
Yeah, Dexter got canceled for a while, and then when it came back is when it had that really odd art style change.
Huh. No, I didn't know about that. I kind of...
Yeah, because I think it's like Dexter was on for like 2 seasons, got canceled, they had the Ego Trip movie, and then it came back for like another 2 seasons.
Okay. You know what? It was, as a kid, I just naturally assumed, because I did pay attention to like the credits for episodes as a kid, and I noticed that Gendy, like, I noticed his name from Dexter, and I always just thought, wow, he's working like on 2 shows at the same time. He must like really love to work in cartoons. I didn't really think that one of those shows was in the production at the time.
Well, that's what I thought was kind of funny, is that Craig worked on Dexter, so then when Powerpuff Girls got picked up, they basically just switched, and Gendy came over to work with Craig on Powerpuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense now.
But but going back to that episode with the Justice Friends, like they were drawn like those were Gendy's creations and like in his art style, but like when they carry over to the Powerpuff Girls, like they don't look out of place at all.
Yeah,
they look like they belong there, and that may be due to the fact that it was all done at Hanna-Barbera back in the day.
Yeah,
but. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of stylistic differences between Dexter and Powerpuff, but it's interesting to see that shows with different art styles being able to carry over each other and like blend in perfectly.
Yeah, but as far as like compatible art styles, though, Dexter and Powerpuff Girls, yeah, definitely. Just because I feel like Tartakovsky and McCracken definitely influenced each other a lot. Like, because I mean, they were friends for like a long time, even before they started. Like, they were friends in art college. Like before they started working on their respective shows.
Yeah, a lot of those guys were like friends at Cal Arts. Like I think they were friends with Van Partible, who did
Johnny Bravo
too,
and Seth MacFarlane, who ended up doing, of course, all the Fox tunes, like Family Guy.
Yeah, Seth MacFarlane and Butch Hartman, all those guys.
Yeah.
What was what show was Hartman and Butch working on together?
That was...
They were on Johnny Bravo. That's right, they were on Johnny Bravo.
I specifically remember, I think they did the episode that Adam West guest starred on, and then Adam West went on Adam West went on to be regular features on each of their shows, because he played Catman on Fairly Odd Parents, and then he was himself on Family Guy.
For as much as I don't like modern Family Guy, I will say it makes me sad that we don't get any more crazy Mayor Adam West.
Yeah.
He was the best.
Yeah, that was really the only good thing to sort of check in once in a while to see what was up.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good... Like, I can't really think of a bad episode of Powerpuff Girls.
I mean, I can't think of a... Like I said earlier, 1 through 4, like every episode's pretty gold. Once you start getting into like seasons 5 and 6 post movie, the quality isn't exactly up to par, just because it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
It was kind of like when the SpongeBob movie came out after like the first 3 seasons, I think, and then they did the same thing. It was a completely new creative team that came on after, and you could just tell like it wasn't the same show, like it wasn't the same people running it. But I mean, there's still some good stuff there. Like for those seasons 4 and 5, which is 5 and 6.
Yeah, I will say that like, as a kid, I didn't I wouldn't say I don't like. I didn't care as much for any of the episodes that they were deliberately trying to get a message across. Like I get the point that they're making, and I agree with it. But I think the feminism episode where they have that that one female stealing all the Susan B. Anthony coins. That episode is so preachy, and it gets real annoying after a while.
I mean, listen, it's a show with the girls as a main character. Of course, they were going to eventually do an episode like that. I think
that's the thing. I completely agree with what they're trying to get across, and I just think the way they did it was like, especially at the end where they start going through like, do you even know what Susan B. Anthony did? And they just keep throwing facts out like that. And it's just like, it's real heavy-handed.
I think it's also just a product of like the era it was made into. Like if they were going to do an episode with like a similar theming, like nowadays, it would of course be approached in a wholly different way. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, no, there's. God, I want to talk about every single episode because like they're just all really iconic to me. Like there's like I'm just going down the list here, picking them out at random. Like Meet the Beatles, which was the episode they did with it was just all Beatles references. Really
and cool. I love that the professor just like tries to explain it to him, and it's like they don't get it. Like the kids watching it don't get it, but all the parents probably do. They're like a rock band, and I'm like, what?
There's
like I didn't get that episode until like later on in life. It's like I never really heard the Beatles before, so it's like I don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
I was a pretty big Beatles fan as a kid, so that was a real treat for me to see as a kid.
Nice.
And of course they did like Beatles references like in other episodes besides that too, but you just knew McCracken was chomping at the bit to do just like a whole reference episode. Like,
yeah,
it was really funny to see.
Yeah.
Let's see, there was so we brought up Monkey See Doggy Do earlier, and they actually had an episode that was a direct sequel to the episode called Monkey See Doggy 2 that was literally the same episode, like I think with 10 seconds of new animation. Like they literally like it was the same exact plot, and I think the only thing that changed is that JoJo had like a metal plate on his butt to stop them from biting him. But then like literally like it reuses about 90% of footage from the other episodes. So I thought that was really funny, like how they managed to, like honestly, I bet like the executives were like, hey, if we can save money on doing another episode like that, I mean, go for it. Do it for more than one episode. Like,
yeah, pretty much.
It was really funny to see as a kid. Let's see, there was. The main event, like the episode where Blossom gets a botched hair job, and like, it just goes through the whole episode just sort of moping about it, and then like later it turns out to be like in her favor because like she makes the monster laugh to death or something like that. That was really good. Yeah, God, there's just so many good episodes here. Like I said, I wanted to do a bit of more research about like just all of Powerpuff Girls before doing the episode, but I just got busy. But I did really want to rewatch like the whole show again, but I didn't really have the time to do it. But just like even just reading the episode titles here, I can tell you like exactly which episodes they were.
Oh yeah. I mean, marathoning through the whole series would take a while, but
yeah, but it's I would say definitely worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong with the original show.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, so fuck, what was I going to talk about? Help me out, guys. What am I doing here?
Do you have any other episodes you wanted to talk about?
No, I mean, I got my favorite out there. That's
What about you, Kyle?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have I been talking?
No.
I think I had mic problems.
Oh.
Okay. Weird.
Anyways, I was gonna say that whole feminist episode that you guys were talking about. Lauren Faust, whatever.
Faust.
She's the one that wrote that. And she went on record to apologize for that episode.
Oh wow!
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I don't know. I know she apologized about it. I don't know if she was forced into apologizing for it, but
no idea.
Lauren Faust, of course, being she had a really big hand in helping McCracken with Foster's home after Powerpuff Girls. I mean, freaking Frankie is the character was based on her too. She got the Powerpuff Girls on her shirt.
She's JD's waifu.
Lauren Faust or Frankie?
Who is?
Both.
Oh.
I mean, Frankie, yes, she's one of many, but Lauren herself, like, I mean, she's talented. I'll give her that.
The Pony Show.
She did make the Pony Show.
And the Star Girls that never came to be.
Yeah, that's true. She tried.
She's wasn't she currently? Didn't they finally greenlight the DC show that she did the shorts for though?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know if she's involved in it or not, but
that would suck if it finally got greenlit and she wasn't part of it. But the original shorts she did really neat. Yeah,
I think it's kind of different, but I'm not sure what's going on with that. But so yeah, do you guys want to get into the movie?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I mean, Powerpuff Girls have been on for a couple of years, and they decided, hey, we should do a movie. And then they did in 2002.
It was a gritty reboot.
Kinda?
A little bit. And not really a reboot, but it was a gritty origin story.
Yeah, and when they announced it, like, hey, we're gonna do a movie about the Powerpuff Girls, I'm like, I mean, when you think about it, it's like, what can they really do? And it's like, well, why don't you expand on the backstory? Because they've never really done that in the show, outside of, like, we know that Mojo was, like, part of it.
Yeah.
But they kind of expand on it for the movie.
Yeah, you know what? I remember, like, at the time, and even nowadays, like, a lot of people didn't really dig the movie just because, and I get the criticism, it just felt like a really long episode, and to sort of focus on the backstory of the Powerpuff Girls is not really a complex thing. Like, they go over it in the intro theme to the show. Yeah, so it's kind of like to build a whole, like, movie around that, like, it was definitely, like, going to be a bit weird. Like, of course, I loved it because I love the series, but I can get people's criticisms about it. The animation in it, though, is, like, it's really nice. Like, it's...
Yeah, and that's what I don't get about people who feel like this is just a long episode. Because, like, the animation style changed so dramatically for the movie, and, like, the color palette that they use, the environmental effects, the backgrounds, it's, like, consistent with the show, but at the same time, it's so visually upgraded, which is what you want out of a theatrical adaptation, which is why I always point to this movie and the Rugrats movie as, like, if you're going to adapt a cartoon to a theatrical movie, that's how you do it. Where you tell a story that couldn't be told in the regular series, and you put a lot more effort into the visuals for it.
Yeah. I feel like they could have done the origin story, like, as an episode of the show, though, like, as a double length, because I think the movie's, like, an hour long?
The movie is 73 minutes.
Roughly.
So yeah, it's a little over an hour.
I don't know. I feel like they could have just done an extra long special on TV. Like, I don't know. If I had the choice between having an origin story or having, like, something completely new for like a movie, I would have gone for something completely new. Like, just even something as I mean, of course, they did this a few times in the show already, but just, like, all of the villains, like, kind of coming together to, like, fight the girls. But, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they could have done, like, anything, and it would have been cool. But, I mean, what we did end up having was really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think having, like, showing expanding on their backstory, like how they came to be, and like their relationship with Mojo Jojo. I always thought this was like a really well done, put together movie.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like a retelling of that one where they moved to Citiesville, where nobody really liked them.
Yeah,
and they made a bunch of property damage and all this stuff.
I never really thought about that, but I guess it really is very similar in tone to that. Although I don't remember there being a bit in the movie where they like banned them from using the powers, so they have to walk across like, like they have to walk across the river to get home. Like,
one thing
that's another good episode too.
Yeah, one thing that pisses me off about the movie that I just so mad.
What?
Back on Cartoon Network's website, back in the day when they actually had like a store you could buy stuff, they used to have this giant statue from the movie, and that's something I wish I would have gotten.
Was it like a statue of like giant JoJo, or?
Yeah, it was him attacking the city, and I think it had all of them around him.
Oh, that sounds rad.
It was such a cool thing. They had it for years on their site, and can't find it anymore.
Yeah, I'm sure it's in the hands of a bunch of collectors now. I'm sure if you dug really hard, you could find somebody who would be willing to part with it. That would be really cool to
own. Several $100.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so I didn't see this movie in theaters. I only saw it a couple years later when they aired it on Cartoon Network.
Fucking pussy. I went in theaters. I put my manhood at stake.
I mean, like I said, like Powerpuff Girls wasn't like a big attraction for me as a kid. Like, you know, it was a show I'd watched periodically, but it wasn't like Rugrats where I was like dying to see the movie when it came out. When the Powerpuff Girls movie came out, I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm not like in any rush to see it, and you know, it came and went, and it was on TV finally, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll finally sit down and watch this.
You should have supported it. You killed Western animation.
Honestly, like, yeah, for as good as I like to say this movie is, it is the main reason Cartoon Network doesn't do theatrical movies anymore.
Yeah, I was trying to remember like what they would have done between this and like their most recent one was Teen Titans Go to the movies, right?
And that was more Warner Brothers and DC than Cartoon Network.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So yeah, they've really never done any other theatrical releases besides Powerpuff Girls, huh?
No, and I think they were wanting to, but then Powerpuff Girls did like so bad at the box office. And not like bad, because I'm looking at it.
They broke even.
That had an 11. They broke even basically, yeah. But that wasn't what Time Warner and whoever was hoping for, and they're like, well, people don't want to see theatrical versions of our show, so we're not going to make them anymore.
It always interests me around stuff around this time because I think this movie was digitally made. Because I always try to look for animation cells and stuff like this. I always think it would be cool to own something from the movie. This is definitely done digitally.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing around this time where you get these shows that are being made in the mid to late 90s that carry over into 2000. You could see their transition from cell animation to digital animation. Yeah. And this movie for Powerpuff Girls is its transition into digital.
It's very clean.
Yeah, it's clean. It doesn't have like that film stock roughness into it anymore. Which I kind of miss that aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, everything's too clean now. I need some grit to my animation.
Like I said, it's the tangible aspect to it. This is why I'm really drawn to like stop motion movies and stuff, because it's like all stuff that really exists. Like, of course, there's digital effects and stuff, but I mean, yeah, with animated movies, you don't really get a lot of that anymore because it's all mostly CGI, and even with the ones that are 2D, they're all pretty much done digitally.
What's weird because stuff like Lakia now, or I don't know how to fucking pronounce it anymore. There you go. It's that stuff's done digitally too. It's just 3D printed.
Yeah.
Now. And I find that interesting as fuck too, because
that's really cool.
Cuts production time in half. I found the statue. I posted it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is pretty cool. Kyle posted a picture of the statue in the chat.
What? I remember seeing this. I do recall this.
Yes, looks vaguely familiar.
That's super cool.
Interesting. Nice. Yeah, I think this the movie is faithful to the series, but also expands on it both story-wise and visually to make it feel bigger than the show.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's what I mean by something that you wouldn't be able to tell in the show is that if you're going to adapt a television show into a theatrical version, it needs to feel bigger. Like just the scale, the stakes of it need to feel bigger than what you would do on the show. And I think this movie definitely does that.
Yeah, totally.
Have you guys seen the canceled Kid Robot figure?
No.
It's fucking heartbreaking.
Oh, that's cool.
I would have bought that.
Oh, yeah. I would have definitely put that on my Christmas list, at least. Oh, that's sweet.
Someday, maybe.
But yeah, so I feel like it was really just the time that it was released in, because, nowadays, of course, they do movies for their shows. It's just all on TV. Like, they've done ones for regular show. They've done a bunch for Ben 10, like live action even. They're going to be doing that Steven Universe movie. So they still do movies, it's just not theatrical release. But I feel like if they would have done the Powerpuff Girls movie like nowadays, like not related to the reboot or anything, but it's just because theatrical release, you have to throw so much money behind doing that. But nowadays, there's every theater does like special event, like 2-day, like Fathom events type stuff. Like I feel like if they would have just done this movie for TV and then did a limited engagement, that it would have been fine then.
I mean, honestly, I'm half expecting Fathom Events to announce, hey, we're doing like a 2-night special for Steven Universe.
I really hope so.
Like, if they do it, I would not be surprised at all.
I'd go both days.
Yeah.
But that's a story for another episode. We'll definitely get on that. Yeah. Definitely looking forward to that.
Right.
But yeah, it's just really just a product of the time that the movie was released, and I feel like it could have done a lot better now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Powerpuff Girls first, I'd say the next incarnation of it.
You know what? Before you get into that, there was a couple of other specials that came out after the show ended before the other incarnations.
Okay.
So there was
shit together.
They for the 10th anniversary they did the Powerpuff Girls Rule, which was was a really cool it brought not closure to the series, but it was a really cool sending off of the show. Like, this is of course years after the show had ended. I believe McCracken was working on Foster's at the time, which is funny because when you watch the special, the animation in it and the humor and the style of it is very much more Foster's than Powerpuff Girls, so it's a little jarring to see how they do all that. But still, just as a special, I thought it was really neat. If they were gonna do, well, maybe not a movie. This was kind of a movie in a way, but a TV movie, but.
Right.
Yeah, but it was super cool. I remember being really excited about it when it was coming out. I think this was the catalyst for the complete series coming out on DVD, was because that special came out, and then I remember being on the DVD, and that was why they released it, as part of the whole 10th anniversary collection. So there was that, and then they did another special called. I think it was Pants Off, Dance Off, which was a CGI.
Dance Pants?
Dance Pants, that's what it was. That was a CGI, they changed the style for it, the really bizarre looking Powerpuff Girls special, just out of the blue, really, because this was even years after the special. That was years after the show.
That was in 2014.
Yeah, so it was weird because this was the very first in Cartoon Network's initiative to sort of do special, like one-off specials based on their older shows. Because I think, I'm not sure if it came out, but I remember they were doing like a CGI one, Courage, the Cowardly Dog, also.
I think I don't think Cartoon Network ever aired it, but I know John Dilworth was like sending it to festivals.
I found it online, and then I posted.
Yeah, it was up on Vimeo.
Oh, okay, so it was made and it does exist.
Yeah, you can watch it. Wallace Shawn is Eustace.
Is he really?
Yeah, because I think they made it after Eustace's voice actor died.
Wait, what about the second voice actor?
Oh yeah, that's right. He died during the show. Yeah, I don't know. Wallace Shawn is just Eustace for some reason.
That's interesting.
It is. Yeah, it's really strange.
I'll have to definitely give that a watch sometime.
I will say that I don't mind the redesigns for Dance Pants. I actually think they're kind of cute. How like angular and I don't know. I don't remember how much I liked them in CG, but just like looking at all the character designs, like on a 2D basis, I wouldn't want to see a total show based around these designs. But I do think it's an interesting reimagining, and obviously my art style is very angular, so
right.
I can kind of appreciate it. I am biased.
It's very cool for like a one-off thing. It was just sort of weird that they would do a special like that, the way that they did it, like years after that. So, like I don't know. It was just I'm still wondering like what the motivation behind it was, because it's not like they're selling merch or anything with it, and they didn't have Craig McCracken come back to work on it. So
I think it was to drum up interest in a reboot.
Yeah, I guess I honestly I wouldn't be surprised.
Honestly, I would have preferred the style in this than what the reboot ended up being. But we'll get to that in a second. We can go on to the first sort of not reboot but reimagining of the show.
Yeah, so Powerpuff Girls got turned into an anime. Everybody, if you don't remember that,
it was Powerpuff Girls Z.
If you guys don't...
Yeah, back in 2006.
If you guys don't know, we got weeaboos out here, and Westaboos are a thing. And American cartoons are extremely popular out there, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah, they made... Because there's this, and I know Lilo and Stitch got remade into an anime.
That's right. It was a Stitch exclamation point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Japanese people cosplay as American cartoons. It's very, very weird.
It is very weird.
I saw Star versus the Forces of Evil. People dressed as them. It was like, whoa.
I mean, it's not weird that there's fans outside of the country that the show's made, and honestly, most of these shows were made in like the East anyway. So
Korea.
Made in sweatshops up there.
Yeah. So yeah, Powerpuff Girls Z. It's weird because there's the original Japanese version. There is an English version, but it only aired in the Philippines.
Yeah, I thought that was really weird. When there was airing, like I was trying to find out if they were ever going to air it in America, like with a dub, and it just never happened. And then only found out recently that there was an English dub. It just never was aired in America, and I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Like.
Yeah, it says here that it only aired in the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand.
I mean, I feel like this would have done really well on Toonami, like.
Yeah, I think when this was coming out was like in the waning years of Toonami. But yeah, it's such a strange because it's such a weird departure from Powerpuff Girls. I've only seen like a few episodes of it a while back, but
same here. I'm not totally familiar, but I've seen like a.
But my understanding of the plot is that the professor didn't make them, and he has like a little assistant that looks kind of like him.
It's his son, correctly. I think.
Yeah, he has like a son, and like the girls are just like 3 random schoolgirls that get like magical girl powers.
Yeah.
and like they have like weapons. Like I think one of them has a hammer and one of them has a yo-yo, and I think like Bubbles has like a bubble wand or something.
Yeah, so they have like these special like names too. I think it's here's a list: Hyper Blossom, Rolling Bubbles, and Powered Buttercup, which are total just like magical girl names. Like it's great.
Oh yeah, yeah, and this is the thing. It's like it's all the Powerpuff Girls characters. Like all the villains show up. But everyone's like redesigned into anime characters, and it's just it's a standard like battle magical girl anime, from my understanding.
I think the weirdest part for me is that just past the them transforming into the Powerpuff Girls, because other than that they're just regular girls. They're not related. Like I think they're just three random.
They're just three random girls.
I'm not even sure if they're friends before this all happens. Like I think they become friends.
I don't think they are.
But honestly, like if you're gonna do like a reimagining of a show, like this is like way different enough to justify its existence. Like at least like if they're like it's not like the reboot where it's like quite literally just it's a recycling
the
of
show.
Stuff. Yeah, but even then it's not. Because anyway, we'll look at that in a minute. But
we'll get to it.
But just seeing like reimagining, like just the anime aesthetic applied to all these like iconic villains of theirs, and just like to town, the world and stuff is all really neat. Yeah, right. Like I honestly would like to give it like a good watch one day, just to sort of not compare it to the original show, but just see like how they handle certain aspects of the show. Because I mean, the original show is all. Had a very heavy anime influence, so to see the show like be an actual anime
as an actual anime. Yeah, I've been meaning to go back to it because I think when it was first getting leaked online, I watched like the first couple episodes of it, and it was just a strange concept to me, just like seeing Japan's take on the Powerpuff Girls. Just very odd.
Yeah. And there's really been no other like adaptation in that same vein like that. Like not that I'm aware of. Like I know they've done
Marvel.
Like I know there's been like anime adaptations of like Marvel like properties and stuff, but I can't really tell you like anything else like at least based on like a Western cartoon that's like that.
Yeah. I think this is it's pretty much an outlier. Because I can't really think of any too many other Western cartoons that got adapted into a Japanese show.
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, they had to have that OVA that you wanted to talk about at some point. And then obviously the Lilo and Stitch one, but
but like you said, that one's it's just Lilo and Stitch, but in Japan and not in Hawaii.
I don't even know if they're in Japan. I think they just got a new Asian girl.
Lilo got a boyfriend and she moved away. Don't you know anything?
I don't fucking know what happens. I don't watch
It's not stuff. Canon, damn it.
Yeah.
You would never do that.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of the redesigns they did for it were interesting. Just to see anime versions of these characters that we're all familiar with.
Yeah.
And seeing the Powerpuff Girls as like magical teenage girls or whatever, but that's something I'm too familiar with.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very strange interpretation, I guess.
Yeah. Recently there was the Batman Ninja.
Yeah, that was one of the ones
when
I was talking about that. Well, because they also did the whole they did kind of like what they did with the Animatrix, where they had like a bunch of different segments like based on the Matrix. They did the same thing with Gotham Knight, that's what it was called. Yeah, they did the same thing with the Batman. But yeah, so it's really the only other series that I can think of that, like, a Western series I got, adapted for Japan. And that's not even, like, in the same way, because this is an actual full-ass show, whereas the other ones were just, like, shorts bundled in a movie, really.
Right.
But that just kind of goes to show you, like, how, like, the popularity of the Powerpuff Girls, like, not, just worldwide, like, not even, just in America. like that they would make a whole anime based on it.
Japanese likes cute and violent things.
Yeah,
they sure do.
My favorite artist, Toma, loves them. It's his favorite thing.
Toma. So is there anything else we want to talk about that before we move on to the other thing?
I mean, we all the three between the three of us, we don't really have like that much knowledge about the anime besides what we've already gone over. So I think it might be time to bring up the black sheep of the series.
Let's do it head first.
Oh god! So I'm sure everyone's aware that they rebooted the Powerpuff Girls in 2016. 2 years. I feel like it's been longer, but it's only been 2 years.
I'm surprised that it's not only still going, but it has 3 seasons and 100+ episodes. Like, that's crazy.
Well, because they fucking, like, these shows, for whatever reason, I think it's mostly because they're done in Flash.
Yeah.
They just crank these episodes out. Like, this and Teen Titans Go, they just...
Well, if you've seen how...
just shoveled that show out.
If you've seen how awfully animated they are, I wouldn't be so... surprised.
Yeah, no, I've seen the fair share of the show.
People missing half their heads and stuff like this.
Clipping through people. I was so hyped when I found out that they were doing like a new version of the show, like a reboot. But I mean, you know, really the only thing to go off of the time was like the intro sequence, which is still really cool. Like, which is really the only thing of the whole.
That's the really sad thing is like it's a really cool, like really flashy new intro, and the show doesn't reflect that at all.
No, not at all. I was trying to keep up with the. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say it was like first red flag was like, character designs kind of change. It's not that big of a deal. Whatever. Flag was they changed all the voice actors. They didn't contact the voice actors, all that kind of stuff. That was like the second red flag.
Yeah.
What really is weird to me, and I know why they did it, because they put out videos featuring the new voice actors for the Powerpuff Girls themselves. Pretty much everybody else has their same voice actor. Tom Kenny comes back as the mayor. Tom Kane is back as the professor.
Roger Jackson's Mojo.
Yeah. So... literally, the Powerpuff Girls themselves are the only people that got changed, and it was because they wanted to get actual, like, teenage girls to voice them so that they could put them out in videos, like, hey, I'm the new voice, like, make them, like how Disney props up their actors, is like, I'm voicing this character on this show, but I'm a real person, and... you can talk to me on Twitter and stuff.
Then it was like, the third red flag was like, oh yeah, by the way, Miss Bellum is gone because she's too sexy and we can't have that. And they made this gigantic fucking deal about getting rid of her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another red flag. And then they got rid of Miss Keen's titties.
I was literally about to say that.
They nixed them. She don't have titties no more.
Poor Miss Keen.
No.
She ain't got no boobies.
Well, Max did that whole video on it. I think that sums up how I feel pretty well.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Professor Utonium doesn't have a chin that could cut glass anymore.
Yeah, he's no longer Samurai Jack without the man bun.
It's like that's the thing, is the whole new show isn't even about crime fighting. It's just them going to school. It's so pointless.
Yeah.
It's the Teen Titans Go of Powerpuff Girls. Where it's from what little I've seen of it, it's a lot of meme humor, it's a lot of screaming.
A lot of my face is different. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. And like I don't know. I watched like two episodes of this show. I think one was with the baby man.
Man boy, I think.
Newton. Yeah, man boy. And his entire shtick, the entire episode was being sexist.
Ugh.
Man,
that was his whole thing.
That's not ham-fisted.
Just mansplaining the whole episode.
Yeah, that's not
it's like And they got rid of the little phone. They all have cell phones. They have, like, iPhones now.
I mean, that like, I don't know. That's like of the changes they did to this show, that one's like probably the least offensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, just even the art style for the new show.
It's just so like, plain. Like I hate what they butchered about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything's all rounded out now. Everything has the same line weight.
All the characters are from Clarence.
Kinda, yeah.
Well,
but yeah,
the other thing too is just they're trying to emulate the designs from the original show, but they then create all these new villains that don't even fit the same like style. Like they look like they're from entirely different shows.
Yeah. Yeah, you're adapting characters from 20 years ago, but adding modern character design sensibilities into it.
Like if they would have gotten people that like their design is very heavily influenced by sort of Art Deco, which is like, what the Dexter and Powerpuff Girls was sort of based on, like it could have been okay. Right. But like I remember like shortly after the first official clip of the show came out, like somebody went and actually reanimated the whole clip to emulate the style of the original show, and it looked like so much better. Like if they would have just done the show like that, like people would be way less critical of it.
Yeah, because I mean, like the original show's art style was very like thick outlines and like strong geometric shapes.
It was still pretty flat too, as far as like backgrounds go. It felt like a lot of kids' drawings.
When they showed the city, it was like a two-tone thing with lines drawn on it. So it was like
it makes sense because you needed the characters to pop. You didn't want it to seem like too busy.
Yeah,
which was one of the things about when they redid the art style for the 2 seasons after the movie that they kind of changed. That was kind of not jarring, but it was different. But
it's like we were saying, the jump from cell animation to digital animation. It gets to a point where it's too clean.
Yeah,
and I think like the new Powerpuff Girls even goes a little further into that clean territory.
It's past clean to sterile.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the exact word I wanted to use. It's sterile. It like has no personality to it. Yeah. Is what it's like when I look at it. It doesn't look like the style doesn't jump out at you anymore. It's just it looks like any other show that could be on right now.
I remember hearing a lot of buzz about different stuff, like the whole man boy thing. Like that wasn't like a big ham-fisted bullshit thing. But I also heard, even though it was like it didn't happen, but they were talking about making a character called the Gamer Gator, and I thought that was just the dumbest shit ever. But I could see it happening with something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
that's the sad thing.
Yeah, and then like last year they did this whole big event where like there's this mysterious the fourth Powerpuff Girl who's like the proto man of Powerpuff Girls, who's voiced by Marceline of all people.
Oh, is she really? Olivia Olsen?
Like, I think so. But yeah, she's Tumblr the character.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far. It's just, it was, I don't know.
I mean, like, more in terms of design.
Well, no, I just mean the whole concept of, like, there being a prototype Powerpuff Girl out there that, like, I don't know, I like the idea of it, but just because it was done in this show, like, I feel like if they would have attempted it in the original show, like the concept of it would have been a lot better, like.
And, like, yeah, and, like, their explanation for how it happened is, like, I like, you, like, the Powerpuff Girls we know are, like, the last, like, in a line of attempts where he used chemicals A through whatever.
Did the My Life as a Teenage Robot had
a
shitload of sisters.
Pretty much. Yeah, exactly. So, like, I thought that explanation was just really dumb. It's like, oh no, I've tried this, like, 20 times before I got it right, and she was just one of the offspring of
of
those experiments.
I don't doubt that was such a thing, though.
He was such a dick to her, too. He, like, straight out killed her or something, shot her with a gun.
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't really watch too much of it. I know, like, she got sent away or something. She was too powerful.
She had to go. Her planet needs her.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing, too, was, like, they made this big deal, like, and this was, like, besides the reboot, like, actually happening, like, and debuting and stuff, the only other thing that happened of note was this episode where they had this fourth Powerpuff Girl, and they hyped it up, and they did the thing, like you said earlier, where they just sort of propped up, like, the voice actress that was playing her, which, and you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't Olivia Olsen. It was somebody else, because I remember it being,
it's a black lady, if I'm not mistaken.
But they made this whole big deal about it, and then they just send her, like, I didn't watch the episode, like, I caught little bits of it, but from what I understand, they send the character off again, and it's like...
status quo is returned by the end of the episode.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, I think in general, I'm not really a big fan of them hyping up stuff like that, and then, like, at least not... It was kind of like in Adventure Time, where they were hyping up this whole thing about Finn losing his arm, and then, like, he gets it... Well, I mean, he eventually, loses it later on, too, but, like, they replaced it for a time, and it was just, like, it didn't have, like, any actual weight to it, like, what they built this whole thing up to.
Yeah, then he gets a robot arm.
Yeah, so, and not quite the same, but, in a similar vein, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it's just... that's really the last thing I remember anyone bringing the reboot up about at all. Like, I can't even tell you anything else about it.
Do we want to talk about the writer who made a self-insert OC so he could have his romance?
No, you know what? No. I'll defend this, because that particular character, so the writer that character is based on never had anything to do with that. It was kind of a joke that his coworkers played on him. So I feel for the guy. It's really awful, but it's like, that wasn't his fault specifically.
Well, I've heard that he only appears in episodes that he writes, and he voices the character himself, so he had to have known about it.
I don't know. I remember doing a little research into it, and it wasn't as bad as it was.
As creepy as
I mean, it's still creepy, but it's not creepy in the exact way that you think it is, because of, like, how it was sort of reported on. But it's still pretty bad. So so that's actually the only other between the fourth Powerpuff Girl and the show debuting that was kind of up in the media at all. So those three things.
Yeah. So I think I kind of speak for everyone where it's like, the reboot's not very good.
Yeah, not really. And I wonder how it really tests with kid audiences, like, as opposed to... Because, I mean, the other thing, too, is, like, I don't know that it ever gets played anyway, because on Cartoon Network, it's mostly Teen Titans Go. Like, and that's not even as a joking thing. I've looked at real-ass schedules for the network, and it seems like all they play is Teen Titans Go, and then, like, the second most played show is Amazing Gumball, and, like, it doesn't even reach the same, like, frequency that they play in Teen Titans Go. So where the hell are they playing these episodes of Powerpuff Girls? Like, how well are they doing, and is it enough to have the show keep on going? Like, how much merch are they selling? Like, it's just a lot of factors that I'm wondering about. Like,
I'm sure it's partially merchandise, and honestly, this is where I feel like maybe I'm just old, and and cartoons are just not made for me anymore. In the sense that I'm sure its mean humor and all of its loud noises is perfectly acceptable for the 10-year-olds of today. And my old man brain just can't handle that anymore.
I don't...
It's like kind of the same reason why, like, I couldn't get into Mighty Magiswords, is because, like, it was just too fast for me. Or any number of modern cartoons where there's a lot of loud, very fast humor nowadays, and that's just not how my brain works.
Yeah, Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, there's that whole episode where the Powerpuff Girls do Fortnite dances.
You're shitting me, right?
Oh.
No, I'm just saying.
I mean, honestly, if I'd believe you.
There's nothing inherently wrong with night dances, but just the way that people will try to like capitalize and like sort of capitalize on it and put it like in their show, sort of stuff's like, yeah.
Right.
Shit, I was just about to say something about this. Okay, so on the note that you said about just like cartoons not being made for you nowadays, I don't know that that's inherently true just because
adults make it.
Well, yeah, adults, of course adults make it, but, you know, back then it was a very, like, I don't really know many cartoons, like, specifically on Cartoon Network and Nick, that weren't made with, of course they were made for kids, but they were also made with, like, adults in mind, too, like, but I feel like this particular iteration of the Powerpuff Girls and some of the other shows on the network are geared specifically towards just children, not in the same way that, like, you know, junior programming is, but there's
no, but it still speaks to the lowest common denominator of children.
But there's still plenty of other cartoons out there that sort of emulate the same way of, like, that they did it back then, where like it was like there's stuff there for adults too, like.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like shows like Steven Universe,
regular show, Gumball,
regular show. Yeah, Gumball is like fucking bananas, but like in a good way. And my wife really likes that Bears show that I've never watched. Yeah, apparently that's like a really hipstery show.
It's a fun show.
Yeah. So there's plenty of shows that are like can speak to us as adults and be enjoyable. But yeah,
okay, KO.
I think you're right. Yeah, KO's really good at. I like that. But yeah, I think you're right. Where this reboot isn't going in with a mindset of this is for everybody. It's going in with a mindset of this is for children.
This is for children, and this is to sell the DVDs and
this is to sell toys
again. Yeah, which the original show wasn't sort of tailored towards. So that's the thing, is that we don't really have other shows to compare it to because there's no reboots for Dexter or Johnny Bravo or any of those other shows. So
give it time.
Honestly, the only thing to do is and it's not even a reboot, but just like the new season they did of Samurai Jack. Like that's the closest thing that any of this original cartoons have had to like a sort of sequel or reboot or anything.
Yeah. And then they took one not so great thing and merged it with another not so great thing when they made Teen Titans Go crossover with Powerpuff Girls.
That's just your opinion, man.
I didn't get to watch that, but just the idea about it made me sad that like the original Powerpuff Girls never crossed over with the original Teen Titans, because like that would have been like
so jarring.
It would have been jarring, but I don't know. Like, of course, like the current Powerpuff Girls and Teen Titans would gel better because of their stylistic similarities, but I don't know, just because I prefer the original Powerpuff Girls and the original Teen Titans, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They crossed over with the Super Friends.
Yeah, and those shorts.
Oh, yeah.
One day I hope to be as developed as you.
All I want is some pants. A decent pair of pants. I don't think that was the Powerpuff Girls one, but they did a lot of those bumpers that are really good.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the entire like crossover with Teen Titans is that it's doing the same joke that Teen Titans does, where it's blatantly making fun of itself. Like the Powerpuff Girls spend the entire crossover telling the Teen Titans how inept they are, and just beating that dead horse of a joke, where because Teen Titans is all the time saying, "Oh, you guys are silly. You guys aren't real heroes because you can't, because you're just all fart jokes." So that's all that really is. That's all it is. And then it's really weird because they added Teen Titans Go into Lego Dimensions, and they also added the new Powerpuff Girls in there.
Yeah, that's right.
And then there's a special Lego episode of Teen Titans Go that you can unlock by unlocking the Teen Titans characters in there, and they make that same joke again, where that crossover has continuity because they meet the Powerpuff Girls again. It's like, oh god, it's you guys again.
Oh, that's neat.
You guys are just gonna mess it up again.
I actually did. I remember when we were selling the Lego Dimensions stuff a lot at Target, and it finally hit clearance when they announced that they were discontinuing it. And I finally saw the Powerpuff Girls ones go to the 99-cent store, and I picked them up there just because, I mean, they're Powerpuff Girls and they're Legos. It doesn't matter that they're based on the reboot. It's still a really cool thing.
They make actual Lego sets of them now.
I see those, yeah, but they weren't $2 to buy, so.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of... Legos are expensive, man. I never realized how expensive they were.
They were expensive back then, too. But, I mean, they're way more now just because of how the brand's been built up.
Yeah, it's all merchandise. It's all, not merchandising, it's all...
Licensing.
Yeah,
brand
there you go.
recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's... What happened to Bionicle and Rock Raiders or whatever the fuck they call them?
Lego does their own, Lego City and Jago and Neon...
True.
Not Neon Knights, that's a Black Sabbath.
Nexo
Knights, that's what it was. Yeah, so they still do their own stuff.
I know that.
I know a lot of people would love Bionicle.
Lego Chima.
Lego Chima, that's another.
Yeah, Chima's dead and buried.
Thanks.
That died faster than the animated series of it did.
Thanks, Thundercats. We got Chima now.
I forgot about Thundercats Roar.
Well, yeah, but...
Oh, yeah, that's still coming out, isn't it?
That was the whole thing with Chima, though. It was supposed to be the Thundercats.
Was it, supposed to be the actual Thundercats?
Yeah, they were going to get renewed for a season or something like that, and then the show turned into some Lego thing. Huh. It's kind of weird. You got to read about it.
That sounds interesting. I would definitely like to read about that.
Yeah, so... Yeah, Powerpuff Girls, in my personal opinions, ain't doing so great.
No, not recently, but, as an overall all-encompassing franchise series, there's been more good than bad.
It was another great episode.
What?
It was the one with the robber hid a diamond in a cereal box.
Oh, yeah! That was a good one.
I love that. And they kept saying it was Lucky Magic Rabbit King or something.
Lucky Magic Rabbit? Yeah.
They had to keep saying it. I don't know, it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the newer ones, though.
From the post movie?
I want to say it was. It might not be, though.
I don't think it is. I'm kind of...
I'm pretty sure that...
Go on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an old series.
Yeah,
one.
I'm just mentally picturing what I remember the episode looking like in my head, and I think that's the original style.
I do like that they have mouths. Mouths is the thing. It's their store.
Oh, mouths, yeah.
Mouths instead of Ralphs. See, that's such a West Coast joke because I didn't get that was a reference.
Yeah.
Because we have Kroger out here like real Americans.
Gross.
Also, I want to say, I'm reading Wikipedia, it does say that Bliss is voiced by Olivia Olson in America.
Okay, so
apparently she has different voice actors for Africa, the UK, and Australia.
I mean, that makes sense. They're in different languages, but I could have sworn it was somebody else that voiced that character. I thought I remembered seeing one of the little promo videos they did, kind of like what they did for the original.
Maybe.
Maybe I'm just wrong.
I swear she had a very urbane voice.
I don't know.
What an awful show. Reboot.
Well, yeah. Original show good. Reboot not so much.
As awful
as the
reboot,
not unsure
of. As awful as the reboot is, it definitely doesn't taint my appreciation.
Yeah, just like Teen Titans Go doesn't taint the original show, new Powerpuff Girls does not taint the old show. It's still there. It's still in its complete form. You can still watch it. on some streaming sites. I don't know which ones right
now. Yeah, I think it's on Hulu.
Yeah.
I think the new show is on Hulu too, but that's whatever.
Yeah.
So
So.
Which is not to say there might be people listening that do like the reboot, and that's of course that's fine.
Yeah, I'm never in a position where it's I don't like a thing, so you shouldn't like the thing. Yeah. If you like the new reboot, great. I'm glad you.
Yeah, I'm glad there's somebody out
there. I'm glad you get something out of it. So
if you like the reboot, good. Something. See if I care.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it came off. That's what you sound like.
Yeah, it is what I sound like. So I mean, I'm never gonna besmirch people who disagree with me.
I'll besmirch like people thing, cool. For both of us.
I'll do it for enough for the both of us. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to say about the Powerpuff Girls?
If you like the reboot, I will not stop my car.
Whoa. Thank God. Kyle doesn't break for reboot. Appreciate it.
I'm going to end the episode with that.
All right. Matt, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, but could I do the sign off for this episode?
Hells yeah.
Okay, so once again, the day is saved thanks to the Ink and Paint Club podcast.
I'm part of that.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on this episode.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime. And, I hope everyone else enjoyed us talk about the Powerpuff Girls, and we'll be back again next week to talk about more cartoons and such. So, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Whatever.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Ink and Paint Club podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can catch a new episode every week. Also be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Twitter so you can keep up with the show. Links are in the description. We'll see you next week.